Good afternoon. I'm really excited to share with you today how TDK SensEI is transforming industrial operations using AWS. For those of you who don't know, TDK SensEI, they're building something truly innovative, a next generation edge intelligence platform that fuses advanced sensors, AI and machine learning to deliver real-time actionable insights for manufacturing and industrial environments. Now what makes this particularly compelling is a problem that they're trying to solve, right? In manufacturing, when something goes wrong, technicians typically spend 80% of their time just researching the problem. And TDK SensEI is changing that equation entirely. Their platform has evolved from basic condition-based monitoring to predictive maintenance. And now to agentic AI, meaning it doesn't just predict when a machine will fail, it actually recommends solutions and orchestrates the response. Think about that, automatically coordinating maintenance schedules, verifying parts availability, and assigning qualified technicians, all before a failure even occurs. And they've built this entire solution on AWS. They're leveraging IoT Core and Greengrass for edge computing, SageMaker for machine learning, and Bedrock for their agentic AI capabilities. The architecture is security first, with comprehensive device provisioning and tenant isolation built in from day one. And the business impact is real. They're reducing unplanned downtime, optimizing maintenance costs, and creating digital twins of operational data that enable better decision-making across manufacturing, smart buildings, logistics, and energy sectors. Now, what's particularly exciting for all of us is that TDK SensEI is now available on the AWS Marketplace, making this solution accessible to your customers who are facing these exact challenges. So I'm Warren Waldman, I'm a senior solutions architect here. I've had the great privilege of closely working with TDK SensEI throughout this year, and it's been incredible to watch them go from development to active commercialization. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Bob Roth, CTO of TDK SensEI, who will walk you through their journey and show you how they've built the platform. Bob, take it away.
Thank you, Warren. All right, so I'll be talking a little bit to basically 5 key areas as we go through the presentation. First, a little bit more of an overview and a little more depth. Warren did a nice job of introducing the company. I have a little more there. Talk a little bit about the evolution that we see going on with industrial automation, from condition-based monitoring to predictive and now agentic. A little bit about the platform we've built, how the architecture works together, and then talk a little bit, where we're going and what we see as the evolution of this space. So first and foremost, who is TDK SensEI? TDK is not the most people, when they hear that, they think of cassette tapes or audio tapes or other things, and so it's a bit of a change. So we were formed just a little over a year ago with the mission to focus on bringing real-time intelligence and predictive and AI-driven technologies to factory management and manufacturing solutions. As a division of TDK, we do have the privilege of having access to these industrial sensors and other components that we can bring into our solution, as well as a broad spectrum of TDK's internal factories that we can leverage for building our solutions as well. Overall, we have built a strong SaaS-based platform that has both cloud and on-premise capabilities, and we've got a team that has a global footprint across North America, Asia, Japan, and other parts of the world. Currently, we have 4 key market areas that we focus on: manufacturing, smart buildings, logistics and distribution centers, and the energy sector. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we applied each of those soon. All right, so what's going on in the area of machine maintenance and facility management? This is an ongoing and an evolving space. It continues to do so today. Initially, the focus was on condition-based monitoring, which is really about the detection of problems as they occur, leveraging ML and to evaluate what's going on in real time. The primary value proposition of this is really relieving the burden of monitoring and decreasing the time to reaction when a problem does occur. However, that space is evolving more towards the predictive maintenance, trying to detect problems before they occur so you can reduce and remove downtime, not just minimize it, but prevent it from happening in the first place. And then where we're focused today, which is where I like to think the magic is on the prescriptive or agentic, not just predicting the problem, but also analyzing and providing the solution to that problem and executing it for you, basically allowing you to have a strong solution that not just figures out what's wrong, but how to fix it. Okay, all right. So in a little more depth, this is a little bit deeper dive into the overall ecosystem that we've put together. And successfully automating and driving efficiency across factory management is key to gather significant amounts of data. Data is a key fact. So sensor data from machine operations, things like maintenance logs, other types of information around the facilities, production schedules, etc., and combining this into a data twin that can then be operated on through AI agents and LLMs. This is an area that they're optimally suited for, and then all of that is then realized for the customer in an overall factory solution, either through mobile or other types of EdgeRx platforms, notifications, basically telling you what the system is doing, when, why, and how. So as we look through what our solution encompasses, this is really what we have deployed today. So we have a solution that has a gateway device connected to many sensors which are located within the factory and read information. All that's connected to the SaaS and the cloud, where we have AWS services providing data storage, ML training models, and I will go into quite a bit more detail on the architecture of what lies behind that in the near future here in this presentation. But overall, this is all hosted within various regions of AWS, so different parts of the world. We have a global platform for this. And then asynchronously communicating what's going on to the customer through the dashboard and other types of notification mechanisms. So now I'm going to take a pretty deep dive into sort of what's behind this, what's the architecture, what have we learned as we were building this platform. So this diagram sort of represents a high-level overview of the overall set of services that we've built for this solution. And I'm going to sneak over here and scroll. All right. So this contains the components of the solution which are on the edge in the factory itself, as well as the components which live in the cloud. So key things that we've built ourselves and areas where we've leveraged components from AWS and their services. Things like IoT Core and Greengrass provide a strong foundation for the IoT software integration, communications to the facilities, provisioning solutions, etc. We have significant amounts of time series data and information, so we have the AWS time stream database that provides that. We leverage the Iceberg for long-term data storage, as well as containers and Kubernetes and other types of solutions for the things that we've built. The AI and ML components heavily leverage Amazon SageMaker pipelines and step functions for building out the solutions, as well as some other components which aren't pictured here, things like Cognito for our identity management. So overall, the AWS Foundation provides a very, very strong platform that we can build a custom solution on top of that blends the two worlds of the facility as well as the cloud. So here a little bit, I'll dive down in sort of the boxed area. This really highlights the interface between the facility itself and what's in the cloud. And I'm zooming in here on the IoT Core and Greengrass and MQTT. So we've built a solution where all the connectivity from the facility out to the cloud is all done over a single protocol, the MQTT protocol with encrypted TLS. And this is a very, very important part of this architecture because security and access to the facility in these manufacturing facilities is a massive concern for them. They really don't want to expose, something that's making thousands of computer chips or wafers, et cetera, to a data outside their firewall. So this single solution is a very, very important part of this. And IoT Core and Greengrass provides for that provisioning, provides for the ability to communicate and manage this data in an efficient way and very, very, very effectively. And yeah. All right. So as I was saying, security is a huge part of the solution that we've built. Factories are very, very concerned about this, the IT situation. And this is another place where we're able to build on top of what AWS provides. So they have a very strong set of services, things like logging and monitoring with CloudWatch and EventBridge. These are tools that automatically allow us to capture what's occurring in the facility, to alert customers to it. They've embodied AI and ML into these tools as well with things like threat intelligence through their guard dog and guard duty solution. So we basically are there able to understand whether or not there are concerns for our customers from a security perspective by leveraging these solutions, as well as the other thing that many of these factories have ISO 9001 and other things. Compliance is a huge thing, making sure that the processes and the data that they're using is being used in the correct way. So the automated compliance solutions and automated solutions here through AWS Config allows us to make sure that we are staying compliant to their ISO 9001 rules, et cetera, with all the things that we deploy inside their factory. All right, so the other thing that we've built out here is we have going to have tens of thousands of facilities, multiple facilities per customer. So the architecture that's been built here is a very strong federated and segmented approach for multi-tenancy. So the only services that are exposed publicly are the ones that allow basically the devices to connect, but each of the customers lives in their own private subnet with their own private services. Each facility is isolated from each other. That means the ML data is not crossing from one client's training situation to another. So data isolation and the ability to keep all this and training information separate is also another critical aspect of us building a platform in the cloud with AWS at scale. The other thing that's interesting is all of the services and all the connectivity from the facility is out to the cloud. There's never any inbound connectivity from the cloud to the facility. This reduces IT configuration. They don't have to open holes in firewalls. It's all outbound. All of the updates to firmware, all of that happens through that sort of phone home mechanism that we've built into the architecture. So here, this is a quick example of one of the things I was speaking to. This is the device provisioning. So we ship out sensors and gateways and stuff and all of those devices are equipped with a certificate that simply allows them to connect to what we call the lobby. And they connect out to the lobby, they understand what device account, what customer account they're registered to, and then they receive new credentials that allow them to connect directly to that customer's federated tenancy area of the solution. So through this approach, we can ship out and pre-configure from our manufacturing all these devices, but they're all secure because they can only speak to this lobby area until they've received the appropriate credentials through this automated facility. So this allows us to not have to pre-configure certain things in the manufacturing process. We can ship them out and then rapidly get deployed. All right, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. And now I want to talk about, what is probably my favorite part of this, which is the AI and ML components, the area, the new stuff that we're focused on. So we've really, in the same architecture space, we now have, this is really what I consider to be the magic, the hallmark of the SensEI solution is really the power in AI and ML being applied to automate and predict and create a solution here. So the core foundation here, highlighted here, we leverage Amazon SageMaker and the step functions to automatically build and train ML models for our sensors. So the customer, our facility leaders, don't have to go out and deploy an ML model, do any kind of training. We actually deploy the sensors, they learn what normal is for operations in the facility, and then that gets built into our device and runs directly in the sensor, and from that point on, it can detect anomalous behavior. So this is a very automated solution. There's no manual configuration required for getting the sensors deployed, and that's all built on top of this rich set of AWS primitives that we've built out here. All right, now, where's this all going? And this is, I'll talk a little bit about the next phase of this is not just telling you you're going to have a problem, but solving the problem for you before it's occurred. And that's really where agents come to bear. Agents taking action on your behalf with what permissions you've given them based on all this rich set of data we have from our sensors. So I'm going to walk through for a second here. This is sort of what would this look like if you're a factory manager and you have a failure that's upcoming? This is the experience of the EdgeRx platform that we've built out. So you as a factory manager would get a notification saying, hey, you've got a pump that has bearing wear. We've detected it's going to fail in the next 2 weeks. We already know what parts are required because our agent has read the manual for this pump and it knows how to do the repair. It knows what's in your ERP system. It knows what parts you have available. It knows what parts are necessary, and it knows what skills from the manufacturing installation process are required. So you get all that in a summary, as the factory manager, you can dive down and understand a little bit more depth. So you can here say, okay, what's going to happen? So this is here now an example of, we've gone through and we're looking at the various information that's coming from our sensors and detecting the fact that we're predicting this failure here because we're going to cross over the threshold of acceptable vibration on this particular pump. We know what parts are required to make the repair on this, and so here this is looked at it, and by the way, it recognizes that one of the parts is not in inventory. If you trust it, if you've got it configured that way, we have an agent that could make the purchase for you and then track the availability of that part being shipped. Or it could inform your parts department that they need to make the purchase if you'd prefer to keep that inside the financial aspect. It'll track when it's available, and then it will schedule the repair when that's available to be done. It knows exactly what skill set. It's able to connect into your time management system that's available in the factory for what resources are available to do the scheduling. And effectively what happens is, this factory manager now has a solution to this problem without having had to do actually any addressed work for it. So what's happening behind the scenes a little bit is a framework of agents that work together. So we have an orchestration agent that's responsible for understanding, as I said, what's the workflow here? Do you allow your agents to make purchases or not, or do we need to call out to a human to send them a notification that they need to make a purchase? All of the information and data that's available to the sensors, to the tools, are all connected together, and we use RAG retrieval augmented generation solutions to do this. And we have a rich digital twin, effectively, of the architecture. That digital twin is not just what's happening in the factory, but all the supporting systems like ERP, personnel scheduling, etc. All right, so a little bit of a summary here. So overall, we've built a platform leveraging AWS and all the things we've learned with the sensors and capabilities that TDK has in its rich 90+ year history to produce something that has the ability to have low latency and do real-time processing, to build privacy and data security, which is such a critical aspect for these factories. From the get-go, it's built in from the very beginning. It's not something we added later. We have the ability to do, with the edge AI resources we've got here, we have resource optimization. We know when things might go down and be able to keep you from outages. All of these capabilities can be personalized directly to the role, the persona. Are you the factory manager? Are you actually the maintenance worker that needs to get access to what the parts are available? So all of this is very persona-driven and interaction-wise. The connectivity independence here is the fact that this solution continues to work even if you had a cloud outage. It's still processing, and we can still access the vibration data. We can still detect failures even if we would not have availability for an outage. So the system is resilient to those types of aspects. And then we're moving into this away from just prediction to creating solutions as well. So as an overall, just a bit of a summary. So we are, as I think Oren mentioned, available on the AWS marketplace now. The solution here has a variety of different sensors that we can bring to bear. We have mobile as well as web-based dashboard interactions. And again, we're focused on some key areas in infrastructure: the manufacturing space, energy, smart buildings. Smart buildings are almost like manufacturing plants these days. They have all the smart pumps and fans and all those things. It's almost a mini factory in and of itself, as well as logistics and distribution solutions, which is another really big area where we're focused today. And that's, thank you for coming, hearing a little bit more about TDK SensEI and kind of where we're trying to take this. And we're building a solution that we think is really the next generation of industrial automation and factory management. Thank you.
Thank you.